Why obesity should not be considered a disease. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
I'm chosen. Name a couple artists that can rip the cannon hard out. Hadoken. Hotter than a cup of coffee with the cream simmering. What's the commotion? He's an AK-40 cannon coming with the whole conglomerate. I'm posted. I'm dragging anybody coming for me. I'm a champion. They know this.
This video is commenting on a segment from the news TV show 60 Minutes. I like 60 Minutes. I've always liked 60 Minutes. I've always found them to be very informative, and I've never really noticed them being biased at all. But in this segment, in this video they released on YouTube as well, they clearly have an agenda, some kind of propaganda they're trying to convince you of. So today we're talking about why obesity should not be considered a disease and what the problem with that is. I'll link the video down in the description of this video and the comments as well, so that you guys can go check it out. I was gonna do like a review, like point by point, going through the video with you guys of that video from 60 Minutes. I probably will do that in the future, in the coming weeks, but that's gonna be a super long video because it outrages me and I have a whole lot to say. But for now, in this video, we're just gonna go over 3 main points, takeaways from that video, and what my problem with it is. Point number 1, and this is the main point of any weight loss topic, any weight loss video, which is calories in, calories out. That is the bottom of bottom lines when it comes to weight loss. The way I'm understanding this 60 Minutes video is that they are defining obesity disease as regardless of how you eat or how you exercise, because your brain is programmed for you to weigh a certain weight in which you're obese. No matter what you do, your brain is always going to make your body go and stay at that weight. The doctors in this video say that their patients come to them and they say, I'm eating healthily, I'm eating properly, and I'm exercising, and yet I am still obese, I'm still overweight, I'm not making progress. The patients in this video are saying, I went to my doctor, I got my advice from my doctor. They told me how to eat, how to exercise. I went to a dietitian. The dietitian told me what to do. I did that, and yet and still I am still obese. Essentially what they're saying is they are breaking the laws of thermodynamics. If you're not taking in enough calories and storing enough calories in your body to create fat, fat cannot exist. If you're eating in a calorie deficit, and or if you're burning off more calories than you take in, fat cannot exist, it cannot sustain itself. That is universal. It applies to every human ever born, literally. You can make whatever excuse you want about whatever metabolic damage or condition you have. You can say whatever you want about your thyroid, your pituitary gland, about how you have a super slow, almost non-moving metabolism. Calories in, calories out works for everybody, always. Is it gonna be slower for a lot of people than others? Of course. Is it gonna be generally, genetically slower for women than men? Yes, of course, but that does not mean that it doesn't work. It just means that it's gonna take you longer, and you're gonna have to be consistent for longer to make the same amount of progress that someone else would do, but it works regardless. You don't maintain the weight if you don't have the calories to maintain it. It might be slower for you, it might take longer for you, but that is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You want to go slowly when it comes to losing weight. So my first, maybe my biggest problem with this 60-minute video is that immediately they are trying to dismiss the theory of calories in, calories out. That's like the first thing they do, the first point they make. When you do that, you've already, from the very beginning, started to discredit yourself. My second point in this video comes from the segment where the obesity specialist in this video says that doctors don't understand obesity. Which brings me to my point, which is, where do you find and get your information about weight loss and trying to battle obesity? So we're talking about doctors versus fitness experts. So let's start with general practitioners. If you go to your general practitioners and either you say or they say you need to lose weight, the information they are going to give you is going to be general information. When that general practitioner was going to school, to college, they were taught general information about obesity. So what they're going to tell you essentially is going to come down to calories in, calories out. So you will then ask them, okay, well then give me some, specific examples of what I should eat and how I should exercise. And the examples they will give you are something that you can already go ahead and Google yourself. When you go to your general practitioner, you actually have one specific person that you're talking to, and you can ask, specific questions to that one knowledgeable person, as opposed to going on Google and then you're getting all kinds of contradictory, confusing information. But because that general practitioner was taught general methods, techniques to deal with obesity, that's what they're going to give you, and you pretty much already have all that information already. Then when it comes to specialists like this obesity specialist, there is a conflict of interest. Now this specialist in this video, I don't think she has any kinds of bad, negative intentions, but just by her nature of her business of being a doctor who specializes in obesity, what does she want to do? She wants to diagnose you with obesity. Why? So that she can then prescribe you medication so that it'll take care of your obesity. What a surprise, what a shocker. A doctor wants to push medication on you. It's the idea of like when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. She has a position, she has a goal, she's on a side. Her side is obesity is a disease. If it's a disease, you treat it with medication. But even if it is a disease, it's barely going to apply to anyone overweight, because every and all diseases barely affect the general population. So if obesity is one of those diseases, that means it's gonna apply to 1 or 2% of the population. So only 1 or 2% of the population actually have the disease, which means they actually need the medication. But what happens then? Human nature takes over, and people who don't need the medication start clamoring for it anyway. They don't actually need the medication, they don't actually have a need for it, but they will insist that they get it because they want to take the easy, lazy way out. Once obesity is just recognized universally as a disease and you start giving out medication for it, you're gonna open Pandora's box. You're gonna let the genie out of the bottle, and when you do that, there's no getting it back in. Now, if you go to a fitness expert, and I will put myself into that category, I'm not a professional because I don't get paid, but I have been studying fitness intensely for decades. If you go to a fitness expert instead of a doctor to try to deal with your obesity, now you're dealing with someone who doesn't have an agenda, right? They're not trying to push anything on you, and they have much more deeper specialized knowledge in how to lose weight, how to eat right, how to exercise. Because of that, they are going to be way more effective than your general practitioner. And they're not trying to send you in a specific direction like medication, because they don't benefit at all from trying to get you on a medication. So the point being, if you make obesity a disease and you start putting medications out for it, people are going to abuse that, and instead of going to doctors anyway, go to fitness experts who can and will specifically help you to lose weight. Third and final point, at least for this video, is genetic set points when it comes to your weight. Pay attention to this video. One of the reasons I say it's biased and they have an agenda is because when you hear them talk about genetic set points in this video, they're always talking about it in a negative way. They're trying to demonize genetic set points. So apparently if you have the obesity disease, your brain is programmed like if you're 237.2 pounds, you will always be that no matter what. It's completely out of your control. But my take on genetic set points is that not only are they not one specific number, but they are a range of numbers. And you shouldn't think about it in terms of how much you weigh, but your body fat percentage. I think about it in terms of zones. There are 3 zones when it comes to your set points. The middle range, right, that's where you have a range of body fat where you're healthy. You have some degree of fitness, meaning you're able to do, daily athletic, physically demanding things without struggling. So you can go up and down stairs all day and it's not a problem. You can lift moderately heavy stuff all day and it's not a problem. You don't feel tired, you don't feel exhausted, you don't have brain fog, you don't feel super full or super hungry all the time. You just generally feel healthy, generally feel strong. And the ranges above and below are pretty much the same, but up here you weigh too much and down here you weigh way too little. And in both of those, you just don't feel good. You do everyday tasks and they seem difficult, way more difficult than they should. You run out of breath quickly. Everything feels heavy. You feel heavy and sluggish. You have brain fog. When you're up here, you feel full all the time. When you're down here, you feel hungry all the time. Now, you have that set point, that healthy set point in the middle, the range of body fat in the middle where you're healthy and somewhat fit. That's where your body wants to be. That's where it's always trying to get to, but you're living a lifestyle where you're either eating too much and not moving enough, or the opposite. Another point they make in this video about set points is they say, like, for instance, the pandemic, right? If you sit around for 3 to 6 months and you put on weight and sustain it within that 3 to 6 month period or further out, now you have changed, you have moved that genetic set point. Really, this is much of a wording problem, because it's not, you're not moving your genetic set point. Your genetic set point is what it is. It will always be that range. I guess you could call it your biological set point. You're changing your biological set point, which essentially just means your body is used to being in a certain condition. Once you gain a certain amount of weight and you maintain that weight for a certain amount of time, now your body's just used to having that extra weight on its frame. But they demonize it by only talking about how, oh, you reset it every time when it goes up. Now it's been reset to that new number. They don't mention anything about it going down, because if it can go up, it can definitely go down. How do I know? Because I've done it my entire life. I am the kind of person who I bulk and I cut, meaning I live in Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. Every winter I get fat. Every summer I get cut. When I was a kid, I did it on accident, because that's just the kind of way I lived my life. As an adult now, I do it very purposely. In the winter, my biological set point goes up, I get fat. In the spring, summer, I intentionally bring it down, and then my body gets used to it being low in the summer. But in this 60-minute video, they act like you're just a victim of this biological set point, and it goes up, and once it's there, oh, you're screwed now. And you're screwed because you have the disease of obesity and you can't control it, which, as we've gone over before, is completely in your control. Once you get into that medium, healthy, fit range, it's not even hard to maintain that, as long as you figure out a way to live your life in a manner in which you enjoy. So you eat kind of decently, you get decent kind of exercise, and you enjoy it. Once you get to that phase, it's relatively easy to maintain, because as long as you figure out a way to live that way enjoyably, it's completely within your control, completely doable. So you take all those points together and it just reinforces my belief that if you do declare obesity as a universal disease and start throwing out medication for it, you are going to unleash the dark side of human nature. Once you do that, and then you realize that it was a disaster, it's going to be really hard to put all that back in Pandora's box. You're going to have people on medication who don't need it, and you might say, well, what's the problem? Like, it works. I may not need it, but it does work for me. The problem is you're putting something into your body that you don't need. Just because the FDA says it's safe and they approve it doesn't mean that it's good for you. Aspirin, anti-inflammatory medicine, it's completely fine with the FDA. It's been around for, however long it's been around for. It may solve whatever specific reason you're taking it for, but it's terrible for your liver. One dose here or there may not affect your liver, but that doesn't stop it from actually being really bad, really hard for your liver to process those chemicals. So what do you think a miracle weight loss drug is going to do to you, even though the FDA says it's safe? And now you're taking it even though you don't need to. Even more so, maybe more important to me, is just the moral efficacies of it, which is like, you're taking the easy way out. You're being lazy when you don't need to. If you lose weight on your own, naturally, because you ate less and moved more, then you would get the actual gratification from doing that, from going through the process of trying stuff out, seeing what works for you, what doesn't, and then improving and improving over time, making small changes over time, figuring out how to make those small changes over time be changes that you actually enjoy, so that you can build a lifestyle around doing that, and then eventually you will have lost that weight. You will not be obese anymore, and you will have done it from your own effort, from your own experience, from your own trial and error. And then when you get to a point where you're like, this is where I want to be, I feel so much better now, then you get to internalize that all yourself from your own hard work and effort. If you just take a pill and it just makes you skinny, then where's the gratification in that? Where's the gratitude? You won't appreciate that because you didn't earn it. And since you don't appreciate it, you'll take it for granted. You will abuse it. That's human nature. You're not exempt to how human nature works. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, if you found it helpful, if you think it gave you information that you weren't aware of before, or in a way that you weren't aware of before, then please subscribe to the channel. Also, there will be a video of me going through point by point of that 60 minutes video. I don't know if YouTube's gonna let me use clips of that video to put on my channel. I don't know if they will allow that. If they will or if they won't, I will narrate my way through it, but that video will be coming in the next few weeks. Watch that video if you want to watch, an hour plus long experience of me pretty much losing my mind. In the meantime, hit that thanks button down below. When you do, that thanks button will highlight all of your comments below. Every comment you make will be highlighted, it'll stand out, and it directly supports the channel. So anybody that does that, thank you, I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any of my videos go live on this channel. And until then, I will see you guys next week.
What is y'all saying? Y'all don't want me to go no sin, then go Super Saiyan. I go back up in the studio and then they get to praying, Lord Jesus, here you go again, here you go again. I'm shining, but no, not like my watch. You find Christ just like my heart. Yes, my hood, yes, my block. I don't want attention. If I'm a rap, I'ma sit aside, man, I want no props. I want God, them see God, bless his body. We got flux, running everything, man, again the brain, getting in the heart, man, it's shining, what you kinda getting heavy in the game. And it ain't my strength, but the weekend is giving me growth and it's giving me power. Dang, man, it's not canon, it's Jesus up in this mainframe. Think, why would I steal his glory from the king? Dang. That's all I got. Psych!